In yesterday's video, we went over the likelihood of Monday being the high of this week, and Tuesday, if it is going to be a trap day, that would be the day to trap. Anyways, before we get into it, I do want to make a very quick announcement here. If you're interested in the MetaSignal service, which basically spoons feeds you setups. Shouldn't say it that way, but it is what it is. Got to call a spade a spade. You can actually get it now for free for the first 14 days. No code needed or anything like that, but you can use my code Krown, which will award you 20% off on the actual service if you decide to continue with it. And that is available to you in the link in the description below. And other than that, we can just jump right into this one, starting off with a revisiting of the statistics that we were looking at since Bitcoin is putting the all-time high at just under 74,000 bucks on March 14th of this year. The relevancy pertaining to yesterday's video was that Monday was traditionally, or typically, or not typically, it has been the high on a closing basis for the week, every week since March 14th, where that all-time high was put in. And the rest of the week traded kind of sideways and down, typically making new lows, but not always. Anyways, what have we seen on Monday? We saw Monday a nice pump up to 63,500 or so. And thus far on Tuesday, we've seen a little bit of a sell-off. So it does look like that relationship is still very much intact. And if there's been no change in behavior, then what should we expect? I don't know, probably the same, which it has been a downtrend. So I maintain my overall stance on this channel, mediated by the statistics, that if you're going to be bearish, the time between, it was like a few weeks ago, and basically the middle of May is the time. So if there is going to be a breakdown, we really would be expecting it this week, or at least the next sort of leg of this breakdown happening by the end of this week. That does imply that Bitcoin fails to really break down in any sort of meaningful way by the end of this week. You're going to start to see me switch around to, bullish is not the right word, but boorish, and then bullish later probably. So fair enough. Anyways, what I've gone ahead and done here is I've marked off all of the Tuesdays after that Monday high, typically, with the red vertical bar since the all-time high was put in, and found that out of the past 8 Tuesdays, 6 of those did close negatively. And the 2 ones that did close positively were, by the way, like inconsequential. This one right here, basically, it's bodiless. I mean, it was unchanged, and this one over here as well, basically unchanged. You might as well say that they were all fucking negative, to be honest. So as long as we can continue to see that relationship hold true, it would be unwise to expect the opposite. What would indicate the opposite is happening, however? Any sort of close back above Monday's high would obviously invalidate that prior statement and indicate that Bitcoin is putting in not a bull trap here, but a bear trap. And very likely we do see a move back up towards 66 or 67,000 bucks. This was also in alignment with the weekly HPDR bands level that we were looking at yesterday, with that pump up to precisely the 50% level right here, and thus far has sold off from there. So the likely range for Bitcoin right now is between the 50% and the 61.8 level, which to the downside is about 59,400. I would be looking for 59,400 to be hit if Bitcoin does trade and close below Monday's low at 60,800. So more than $1,000 move there, which is really not that much when you're talking about an asset that trades above 60,000 bucks, but you get the idea. Anyways, the more time that Bitcoin spends floundering here without continuing below yesterday's low, Monday's low, the more and more likely that this is indeed going to potentially be the reversal. But until then, risk remains to the downside. Downside is more likely. The trend is your friend, and the trend is I didn't complete the statement. Anyways, also on the daily, it should be known that Bitcoin rejected right at the median here too. So yeah. Anyways, looking at our oscillators, do we see anything of particular note? Actually, no. If we do start to see volatility increase from here, that would favor the downside, but these are like really hairline sort of readings as of right now. It's not very helpful, to be honest. The big ones for me, again, as far as levels go is basically yesterday's low and yesterday's high. Above yesterday's high, I would be looking for Bitcoin to try and move towards 66,000 bucks. That starts to really look like this is going to be the next sort of major macro low. And then, of course, below yesterday's low, I do look for that move down to 59.5, and below 59.5 on a higher term time frame closure. That's when that's when all hell breaks loose. All hell is breaking loose, and you're probably going to see a move down to very low 50s, maybe even upper 40s after that point. But one thing before the next, as these ranges tighten up here, become more and more precise with where things actually change around. Also on that note, I should again revisit the higher term time frame stochastic momentum. We see that weekly continues to remain to the downside. 5-day also remains to the downside, and daily is going to have a fresh cross down, actually rejecting this trendline regression that we drew out yesterday. Also rejection of the neutral zone if Bitcoin does close today below 62,600. So probably also an early indication that Bitcoin does close below that number. Again, downside going to be more likely this week, at least at 59.5. So, one thing before the next, it's going to be a little bit of waiting here. Again, I understand it's boring as all hell, but it is what it is. It is what it is. It's fucking boring, okay? Trading is boring. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to break that news to you. I know it's also difficult for a lot of newer people to hear as well, but just because, a lot of people, like, when do people join into markets? They join into markets when they see shit like this, right? Where it's just straight up or straight down, typically when it's straight up. And so they get this like false sense of idea that the markets is always moving, and the markets are always moving kind of, but they're just not moving that much. And you can see, well, I mean, we actually have had a pretty big percentage range, but it feels boring. I'm bored. Are we there yet? Fucking dumb. But yeah, anyways, I'm just pontificating now. There was actually a really good question yesterday. Someone asked, why could it be that Bitcoin puts in the high of the week on Monday? And look, it's very difficult to address why anything happens for just one particular reason, because it's a massive market. There isn't just one reason why things do move. But if I were to offer up a potential theory as to why Monday is the most likely day to close positively, or just has been closing positively a lot, is because that is the day where big money managers typically allocate or deallocate as well. And so theoretically, they'd be buying on that day, around the open of the U.S. markets. And if other people know that, then what they can do is they can create that self-fulfilling prophecy where they basically buy before them, because they're like, okay, the ETF guys are going to buy are going to buy on Monday. So if I buy on Sunday, then I can just sell on Tuesday, and I make the difference of that. No problem. Maybe something like that going on. It'll be a very interesting relationship to follow up on just over time. But again, until then, we have seen, we've seen a lot of reversal in these statistics. I mean, Tuesday also used to be one of the most likely days to close positively, and now we see 6 out of the 8 past Tuesdays closing negatively. Friday, same shit, 7 out of the past 9 closing negatively. Thursday closing positively more often. 6 out of 9 have been positive. And Thursday traditionally has been, a bearish day for Bitcoin as well, historically speaking. Anyways, that's probably going to do it for me today. Tomorrow we'll come back at this one, see if there's any sort of, potential moves outside of this range. Basically, yesterday's high and low are going to be the big pivot points for today. And we don't really go too much over upside, I suppose, but yeah, if you do see a closure above yesterday's high, I'd be looking for a move close to 66. And that's going to really start to look like this is putting in a reversal here. But one thing before the next, this likely takes a lot of time and probably a lot of waiting. But at some point, waiting will benefit the BULAs. But again, if you're bearish, you're expecting a breakdown by the end of this week. If you don't see it by then, things are likely changing. All right, that's enough for me today. Yes, that's enough for me today. I'm still actually sick, I guess. I don't know what the fuck's going on. I drink enough caffeine though to wake me up. But I should let you know that I've just been swamped with fucking messages and emails and all this sort of shit, which is great. I appreciate people reaching out, but I haven't really had the energy to respond recently. So I'm trying to just kind of take things easy, especially while the market is kind of boring as well. But I won't bore you with the details of that. With that said, I'll wish you well as always. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully Wednesday.